All right, we have a non-traditional inbounds and out of bounds. That means you're going to hear me ask myself a question. So, Tiki, it appears that the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive end Yannick Ngakoue has begun his holdout from training camp. Jags head coach Doug Marrone confirmed yesterday that Ngakoue was the only Jaguar that failed to report to training camp. Ngakoue has made it clear for months that he wants out of Jacksonville after asking for a trade, but the Jaguars have reportedly set a high price tag, which has made it impossible to continue trade talks. They've stalled. Ngakoue is set to make $17.8 million under the franchise tag. I don't think it's about the money for him if he ultimately signs it. So here's the question for you, Tiki. Inbounds or out of bounds? This situation will end with Yannick Ngakoue being traded before the season starts. You know, it's interesting to contemplate this one because the Jaguars obviously are in somewhat of a rebuild mode. It's not like they're going to tank and then try to go get whoever, Trevor Lawrence, whoever the top quarterback is going to be this year, even though that may be the case. But I don't think that that's the model, because if that is, I don't see how Doug Marrone, their head coach, survives it. So the only way that he keeps his job is if he shows that with a roster that has lost some really good players, a bunch of them, Jalen Ramsey, A.J. Boye, they've shipped out everyone out of this defense, which is where their strength was. The only way that Doug Marrone keeps his job is if he proves that with an inferior roster, he can still be competitive in his division and in the National Football League. And if he does that, the only way he's going to do that is if he has Yannick Ngakoue. Now, maybe they come to their senses and sign him to a long-term deal. I don't know if that's what Ngakoue wants. I think he wants to join his former brothers and be elsewhere, but I don't think that he's going to get traded. So I'm going to say out of bounds. I do not think that this situation will end with Ngakoue being traded before the season starts, because they need him in order to be good, and Doug Marrone needs him in order to keep his job. So I'm going to say out of bounds of that one. It is a very interesting and unique situation, though, for sure. All right, Tiki. Then free agent and six-time 1,000-yard rusher LeSean McCoy joined us back on May 14th and explained to us that he wasn't going to sign with just any team. I think McCoy has found that right situation. That is with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He signed a one-year deal with the Bucs, and Shady joins a crowded backfield. It has Ronald Jones, Dare Ogunbowale, and rookie Keyshawn Vaughn, who was just placed on the reserve COVID-19 list. That's insignificant, but it is a fact. He is on the COVID-19 reserve list. Inbounds and out of bounds, Mr. Barber. LeSean McCoy will become Bruce Arians' most trusted back this season. I really like Ronald Jones, but I'm going to say inbounds. I'm going to say inbounds to that. LeSean McCoy had an interesting path last year with the Kansas City Chiefs. Remember, he signed late. He ended up playing a little bit during the regular season, had some impactful moments throughout the year, but when it came down to it, they ended up benching him, or not benching him, but not even dressing him for the Super Bowl. It was more Damian Williams who opted out, obviously. It's why they're lucky they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire from LSU this year. They're fortunate they did that with the Kansas City Chiefs. But I think Shady going to Bruce Arians' system, where Bruce clearly wants to win now. There's no reason you bring Tom Brady in unless you are looking to win right now. And given all of the talent from Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate, Rob Gronkowski even, they have a very veteran, experienced, explosive all-around team. And Ronald Jones is a good player, but Shady has been an elite player for a lot of years. How much he has left in the tank, I'm not positive, but I do know that Shady, given all of this talent around him, can thrive because he'll be a third, fourth option. And when your third, fourth option can be as dominant as Shady once was, I think that Bruce Arians will recognize that. I'm going to say inbounds of that one. I think he will become his most trusted back. He doesn't turn the ball over either. All right, a team. As we discussed yesterday, that's my real name for those who don't know. As we discussed yesterday, the MLB Players Association was in talks with MLB on shortening doubleheaders this season. That agreement is now done. Doubleheaders will now be 2 7-inning games in 2020. And yes, the automatic runner on second base in extra innings, that would be the 8th inning, and doubleheaders still holds. Inbounds or out of bounds, Ateem Kiambu, that's my middle name. MLB shortening on doubleheaders will help each team play the maximum 60 games this season. Absolutely not. This is so out of bounds, I can't even say it loud enough or quickly enough. Out of bounds. We just saw that the Cardinals and the Brewers have a postponement because they had a couple of positive tests with the Cardinals. This is going to keep taking over and taking over and taking over Major League Baseball. MLB is in trouble right now. This is unrelated to the Miami Marlins situation, by the way. At least I think it is unrelated to the Miami Marlins situation, who've already had, 3 or 4, maybe, it's going to be ultimately 7, but 3 or 4 games postponed already. MLB's in trouble. This is not going to help teams get to 60 games. What they are going to have to do, we are going to detail, and at 4:20 Eastern, 1:20 Pacific, I have the idea on how they can get this done, but they are not getting in 60 games this year. This is only going to keep compounding itself. We know who did it right. The NBA did it right. You have to bubble. MLB had a plan to bubble. They chose not to do it because too many people didn't want to be away from their families, or the states that they were going into were having spikes. Well, guess what? The NBA is in a state that's having a spike. That's having the most cases and those deaths that they've ever had. You can do it with a bubble. Isolation works. MLB didn't do that. This doubleheader nonsense is not going to help. And by the way, it's 7 innings. It's antithetical to baseball, right? It's perseverance and, fighting to the end. Hey, play 7 innings. Yeah, it's over. Just like watching football into the third quarter. Would you like that? No, I don't think so.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.